Smile.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Aggressively Single, episode number 5. My name is Nina Martinez. Welcome to the show. Aggressively Single is all about dating apps and learning how and maneuvering through the world of dating. Welcome to the show. Aggressively Single is all about dating apps and learning. Oh, I realize what's happening. Hang on one sec. Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay.
Strangely familiar.
Let's do this again. I know. I was like, where am I coming from? All right. So, hi, everyone. This is Nina Martinez. Welcome to Aggressively Single, where we explore dating in the age of apps. And we have our coach break us down and we try to elevate our dating game in this age of weirdness and funkiness. And so, I've got a really good story to tell you guys in just a moment. But let's introduce our daters. I have Kenna and Leanne, both from Chicago. Kenna?
Hi, I'm Kenna.
Hi.
Hi.
Would you read your dating app for us?
Sure. So this is the one I have on Bumble, but I have like very similar on all of them. Let me pull it up. Okay. It is the Blackhawks, Cubs, beer, wine, running, theater, and comedy. I like men who are stable, friendly, kind-hearted, and active.
Great.
I'm trying to get right to the point.
Perfect. All right, Leanne.
I don't know.
Okay, let me bring it up. I'm sorry.
No worries.
All right. All right. Sorry, I know I sent you my screenshots. I should have been prepared.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like
I should have too. Yeah.
It's been so insane and.
Oh yeah, you were just on the road too, right?
Yeah. And of course, every time I'm in Iowa in March, a snowstorm hits. So. Yeah.
All right, this is OkCupid. Self-summary: just a girl who likes David Lee Roth and Beverly Hills 90210 a lot. What I'm doing with my life, I write about 90s teen dramas, talk about my love of music on stage, and occasionally tell jokes into a microphone. I'm really good at Papa Shot, Burger Time, useless pop culture facts, and riding a bike at a mediocre pace. Favorite books, movies, shows, music, and food. Books, My Custom Van by Michael Ian Black. Movies, 16 Candles, This is Spinal Tap, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, and Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Shows, MTV's The State, Beverly Hills 90210, and Dallas, the original. Music, PJ Harvey, Harmar Superstar, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Guns N' Roses, Van Halen, David Lee Roth Only, Hall & Oates, TLC. 6 things I could never do without: chips and salsa, my cat, my family, good friends, second-run movie theaters, and Luke Perry. I spend a lot of time thinking about the time I got shushed at the Kenny G concert. On a typical true story, yeah. On a typical Friday night, I'm out with friends watching a marathon of who knows what or working. And then I recently joined Hinge, which isn't as detailed. It just has like a few questions of just like what your favorite Halloween costume was or anything. And I put when I dressed up as Joan Cusack from 16 Candles. And one was, actually the most feedback I get on that one is of advice from your grandparents. And my grandma once said, if there is no wind, row. Otherwise, it's all just pictures. Yeah.
Awesome. And then our coach today is Vicki Lockman. Hi, Vicki.
Hi, Nina.
Welcome back.
Hi, Vicki. I've been a psychotherapist for 40 years. I do a lot of couples counseling. I'm an addictions counselor and a sex therapist, and I'm single too. So I've dabbled with this myself.
I also want to tell Leanne that I've also been shushed at many concerts. The most recent was Alan Cummings. Virginia.
He's so bitchy.
I know.
So good. So I started on Hinge and I don't think I like it at all.
Yeah, I feel that there's a lot of errors. I don't know if it's because it's a newer app too, but a lot of people who I say no to, then they match with me. And I think that that's like something. And then also there's really nothing to go off of it. Like the whole thing is that it's catering, that it's for more serious relationships, but I see all the same people on those apps as I do on anything else.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So both of you guys, so Kenna, you're on Bumble.
I'm on Bumble, Coffee Meets Bagel. I've been on Tinder at times, and then I get off of. I'm like, I basically flip flop. When I get angry at one, I'll move to a different one, and then I kind of still just try to find something. And I haven't found an app I really like yet, but I'm trying. So we'll see.
I was on Coffee Meets Bagel for like a minute, and it just
too much. It's hard.
Yeah.
Too many rules and connections, and I'm like, I don't know.
And it's like they want you to pay for everything. Like I can't get access to anyone because they're like, you don't have enough coffee or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I'm not paying because I also feel like at this point in the game, and like if this was 15 years ago, I understand the paying aspect of it. But I think at this point, I'm like, no, it's another way to meet people. And I'm like, this is legitimately how we're all talking, is online, either on these apps or also online on with our friends on Facebook, on Twitter, and maybe connecting with people even through that, like, you know, their mutual friends. And I'm just like, I don't understand anymore. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't understand.
I'm kind of with you. Leanne, you're on, you said Hinge and
OkCupid. Yeah, I've been on Tinder before. I did Match when I first moved here, and then that was about 8 years ago, and I haven't really hopped back on there. And then, yeah, even then, it's just more like sometimes I feel like it's often like something to do while watching TV, and like if you're bored at home, and to kind of like look through and possibly meet somebody without actually going to a bar. Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah. I am currently just on Tinder, but I'm very unactive on Tinder. Like I'm tired. Like I'm tired of the apps. Like I said, I tried Coffee Meets Bagel. I tried Hinge. They just feel dumb. OkCupid was too dirty for me. Like,
yes,
so dirty. And then I was on Match, and I paid for a Match subscription for a couple of months, and it just felt like I was wasting my time. Like it was wasting my money. Have you guys tried paid apps?
When I first tried Match, I feel like I paid for it for like, I think I did like the 1 month, and then I'm like, I don't want to pay for it anymore. So I also just stopped paying for it.
Kenna?
No, I've never paid for an app. And I also like, I feel the same way about being tired, and I've been trying to find other ways to meet men. So I was talking about this with my young 24 and 25-year-old coworkers, because they also are saying the same exact things that I am regarding dating, which also just makes me feel slightly better, even though their odds are better, right, for meeting men. But it's also the fact, so we were just saying, even like what we're all doing now is just if we have any kind of interaction with somebody, even online, if it's like more than a few times, we'll just even say, hey, do you want to go get coffee? And see even if that works too.
Yeah.
Because at least I know, might know them or find them cute based on what I've already seen.
Yeah, totally. So this leads me to my story.
Woo!
So it's good, but it's not a sure thing yet. I'm a sure thing, but it's not a sure thing. So I have been I do some work for my friend. So I was in Milwaukee doing some food demos there, and there was this really cute boy in the deli, and I went there like 6 times, and like we didn't ever talk, and then finally, like the last couple of days, we started flirting a little bit, and so the last time I was like, okay, I'm gonna give him some chips, and so I gave him some chips, and I said, I put my number on the bag, but I was just kidding because I didn't have a Sharpie to put my number on a bag. And so he goes, I thought you put your number on the bag. So anyway, and then I got nervous and I was like, I gotta go. So I went in last Tuesday to pick up some stuff and look at like merchandise there. And he came over and talked to me, and then I had to leave. And then, so this Tuesday I came in. Oh, so after last Tuesday, I put up a misconnection on Craigslist.
Oh,
Good
they're
for
getting
you.
rid of those soon.
I was like, it's gone. It's gone now.
Oh,
So I was like, okay, whatever. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is what happened mostly. So this is what I wanted to kind of start with in this, and I'll tell you, like, it's kind of moved already. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So this dude messaged me, emailed me, and said, "This is not Deli Boy, but let's get some cheeseburgers and talk about why you're afraid to give this guy your number." I was like, I wasn't afraid. I'm shy. I mean, guys will take a number, no problem. Just remember, you might seem like a hoe if you're giving out your number like that. So I guess if you don't care, I just don't think he'll want to marry you if you're so aggressive. So let him know you want him, but make him ask for your number. If he doesn't ask, you should move on because he's clueless. That last part, fair, whatever. He could be clueless, right? Okay. And I was like, that was kind of offensive. So this gentleman came back to me and said, "Oh my God, how?" My response, well, essentially, you just called me a hoe. If you think a woman is a hoe just because she gives you her number, that says more about you than her. It shows a complete lack of respect for a woman who is in control of her life and who she is. It's not 1950. If Deli Boy thinks I'm a hoe because I'm an actualized human being, then he doesn't deserve me. So that happened. And then I got a lot of dick pics. And I was like, are you kidding me? And one of them was like creative and artistic, and so I kept it.
You're gonna show us that?
Not tonight.
I was kidding.
I'll text it to you. So I kind of was really impressed with how excited about how I handled that.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, fuck you. Like, really? But also I was like, men are pigs. I wish I could just be a lesbian, but I'm not. I really want to be a lesbian. I wish so bad.
I've also talked about this with my friends who are lesbians too, because I was like, how, especially my friend Kelly, and her wife recently died like about a year and a half ago, and she's back out dating. And she was saying how hard it is. She goes, but the one thing that mostly because she misses her wife, right? But she's going out and date. She goes, but she's like, as a lesbian, she's like, we have this communication and we talk. She goes, I always feel sorry for my straight friends. And I said, I do too. And I look at how you guys can communicate and work together on just basic human kindness as you date. And I don't know what has happened that a lot of men aren't kind anymore. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What kindness.
Anyway, so Deli Boy, who's probably, sorry, I went back to Deli Boy. I was like, Deli Boy.
I like Deli Boy.
Probably 21. I'm such a cougar. I went in on Tuesday to do some more merchandising, and he came over with a pad to get my number, and he said, a friend of mine alerted me to your misconnection post, and I was like,
what?
That's awesome.
I know. So I gave him my number, but he's probably like, oh, she's transgender. That scares me. But whatever.
Was that yesterday?
Tuesday, yes. That was yesterday.
Oh my gosh, yay.
That's awesome.
I mean, there's no chance he'll call me or email me.
I think it's big that he even came over.
Totally.
I think that's awesome and great. Yeah.
He came over a couple of times. He's clearly interested.
Totally. But then does he know I'm transgender, and does that scare him away?
Oh, well, that's
the trick.
The story of your life, no matter what I mean, truly, it is what it is, right? I mean, you're going to have to.
Until I get that cuckoo.
Yeah. But it's scary.
It is. So anyway, I was really excited about that, but it is so exhausting unless it's fun like that.
Yeah.
And how often do we get that opportunity? Do you guys see these in-person flirtations happen that get really exciting for you at all?
Not really. Like, I feel like it's more like, I don't know, if like walking down the street, like, is it just somebody checking you out or anything? Like, I don't feel like I'm really approached very often, which is frustrating, but also I don't know what I would do in this situation if I was. And I work with a bunch of women who are also we're all straight. And so there's no flirt, like there's very few men, and the men who are there are married or in committed relationships. So there's like no like office romance or anything like that. There's none of that. And
which is all of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Everybody's married.
It's true. Yeah. Well, now that all my friends are popping out babies. They're all of them. Yeah. And I actually find myself, because I'm from Wisconsin, I actually don't go home as often because of that. To at least hang out with them. Like, I have some of my close friends, but it's harder to keep those relationships because I'm not at that same page as them.
Mm-hmm.
The last time I had a situation where so in November I hosted a charity event at a down talking. There was a lot of single men, but they're all single men, probably between the ages of 22 and 28. So I kind of was like, I was a little bit of dismissive because I was like, well, they're too young for me, right? But then at the end of the day, one of the guys asked me for my number, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, you're cute, you're fun. And I gave him my number, but I also had kind of still, and this is something that I've talked about with my therapist, is that I had already said no to him kind of because of how young he was versus just enjoying it and letting it happen, and so I gave him my number and I was like, yeah, give me a call. And but I was more dismissive than excited. Does that make sense?
Completely.
Of like how those things are. And so I've been trying, that's the thing I've been working on for myself. Just so I know, like Leanne and Dina both know that I'm a breast cancer survivor. So I have a lot of like scars and just dating, just of like how it changes once you go through all, your body changes. But apparently, everybody has something, right?
Yep.
And so I think I'm at a place where I'm okay with that part of it, but also just the fact of saying, why does it matter if he's like that much younger than me? If I just want to date now, like when 10 years ago, I might've been looking for a more serious relationship. And even like 5 years ago, and yes, I would love a serious relationship, but now I just want to date somebody who's kind and nice for just a little bit, just have a little fun. And it's like, as opposed to anything, I don't know. I just want kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and intelligence. Let's be honest too. Like a little bit of that too.
I don't require intelligence.
Oh, see.
I was just talking to a client who is bright and really pretty and has a really cool high-powered job, and the worst history, not only does she pick bad, but she simply cannot dial herself back from catapulting herself into the future. So she meets guys, she'll say, Vicky, I met the man of my dreams. And right away my heart sinks, because she's known him now for 3 weeks or something. And then
oh, she's taking her time then, because I'm all like, I met the man of my dreams. We're getting married tomorrow.
Do you know how long it takes to really get to know somebody? 2 years. Now, I don't ask anybody to wait 2 years before they like make a commitment. I don't ask anybody to do anything, but I'm just saying, we all bring the best we have to bring to a new relationship. Sincerely, that's the person we want to be. But the question is, how long can we sustain it? And you can't really figure that out until you bump into adversity. I mean, we all know what we like, right? What's wonderful about him and what we have in common and all that stuff. But until you bump into some sort of an issue, it's really hard to know, will you be able to resolve that and carry on and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm always just trying to dial her back and say, and not have her do the gamey stuff, Dina, like you were talking about, about that asshole, excuse my French, that was all about the game playing. Well, if you give a guy your number, and this is like, what are there, like 5 billion people on the planet right now? So he's speaking for 2.5 billion people when he says a guy will fill in the blank. It just makes me crazy, and it sets everything up for that game playing. You know, oh well, then the rule is I got to get his number, and it just, if you're going to have an open, honest communication, you should start from Jump Street. You know,
and for me, like, I grew up in Texas, and so I still have a lot of that. Like, I want a man to ask me out. I want, like, I don't want to have to give him my number. I want him to come up to me, you know, and say, hey, here's my number, or can I get your number, or here's my number, or whatever. So it was kind of fun, the flirtation, and I'm fine with giving him my card because he came over to kind of ask for it. But like, how do you balance that out? And like, I have never felt comfortable going to a man and giving him my number just because I have all that shit from Texas that's like, you shouldn't do that because the man's going to think you're a hoe. And then this dude came in. Now, as somebody who's very feminist and empowered, like, I'll tell all my friends, you do it. Go ask him out. Well, let's talk about that. Can we?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I still want to be courted, and I guess that's like one thing that is a problem with some of the dating apps, especially. You can change whichever site you're on. You're still going to get a lot of the messages that go straight forward. And then recently, actually, this just like I've been talking to this guy. We haven't actually met in person, and I'm getting apprehensive with him because we're not actually setting up a time to meet at all. But like first, like, conversations started out very pleasant. Like, he'd like text me pictures of like food he had made and like went on vacation and like talked about that. And then all of a sudden yesterday, right when I'm walking into work, I get a message that says, "Good day. Do you like underwear pics?" And I was like, well, they kind of exchanged pictures, but like, and like they might be like flirty smiles, but nothing to like a level of that. And in some ways, I'm like, at least he asked, but I guess like then instead of just like the unsolicited ones. But now I don't really know where to go with it. Like, I'm somewhat intrigued by it in some ways, but it's not something that I guess I'm now entertaining seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's just like the whole thing of like where romance is dead in a way, which sucks with these dating apps and things. But it's like also I'm 36 and don't want to go out during the week. And when I do go out, it's just doing something that I enjoy. And I'm not necessarily looking to get hit on or anything like that. Not that it was never necessarily a goal, but it was always kind of fun, you know, and just, I guess I have a different outtake on it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bummer. But, you know, here's me, and Dina can tell you this is always me about being honest up front, even though it's vulnerable making, you know, and I don't mean in a strident way. I don't know why I'm pounding my table. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Let me speak for myself. If that were me, and I date, I might say, but I would keep it sort of light. I would say, oh, you know, oh, damn, too early for that. You know, can we dial that back for a little bit longer? Maybe until we're in the same zip code, you know? Yeah. I mean, I would call it out, but in a lighthearted way. Yeah? I would say I'm not against it, but yeah.
Maybe 2 years from now.
Huh?
I said maybe send that 2 years from now when we've been dating for 2 years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No one listens to me. That's for sure.
I feel like it's almost a voyeuristic thing for him that it's like starting to tap into, because then I was like, oh, I'm at work and I like, don't worry, I haven't shown anybody. I went and he was like, you can, just don't send it. And then I took it, I'm like, oh, we just tapped into what your goal is on here.
But don't you
like,
think because of the internet and because of everything that we're, as a society, we're just a lot more voyeuristic anyway? Like,
of course, yeah, like, I do agree with that. Like, yeah, like whether it's like Instagram modeling and things like that, of like where like it's like based on likes and things like that. But like, it was very like that was what kind of turned me off. I'm like, oh, you want me to show people this picture of you in your underwear. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess I don't know what to do with it from there, because like then he's still very polite otherwise, but I guess I just don't know, quite understand where he's going with it.
I think he was pushing the envelope because I think it was titillating. And again, you know, I don't know, this is me. I think I'd say, yeah, you know, I can see all day why that might be sort of like erotic. But yeah, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
I would address it. You know, I would just say, yeah, no, not showing my work friends. You know, not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's appropriate in the workplace.
I have a question for all three of you.
Well, it sure makes the time go by.
Right.
Lately, I've been hearing a lot of people talking about being more with feminine energy, that us being like that I have too much, you know, that we need to just be accepting more of what men want to bring in, accept their masculine energy and feminine energy, and that men, you know, like a chase, so we have to let them chase, you know, all these things that sometimes I've been told I'm too available. And I don't know what that really means, that I'm too available, that I'm just not, you know, letting things happen. And there's all these like other groups that friends have invited me to, like, and or like, what, you know, that you're a high esteemed woman. And I'm just like, it just kind of bothers me a little bit. And I just wanted to know what everybody else thinks too. If anybody else is hearing those kind of people talking about that at all.
I mean, I guess I just feel that that's like my own insecurity of that, as like I feel like it's such a rarity that I actually connect with somebody who I want to continue these conversations with. Like, I'll entertain a lot of them, and like sometimes I'm just as bad as like other people falling off too. Like, I'll have a conversation for a bit, and then if I just feel like it's really going nowhere, I'll fall off too. It's interesting to talk to friends. Like, I have a few friends who have never entered any of the online dating world, which is almost a rarity completely. And you explain to them about how these datings are, like, you start talking to somebody, you'll talk to them for 3 weeks and then just fall off. Or sometimes you meet, sometimes you don't. You'll meet on a date, and then again, like, same thing. Like, there's been times where I've dated people for a bit and like then just stop hearing from them. And there's one guy who I'd met on Tinder and had a great first date, totally hit it off. We did hook up right away, but it then I thought it was red flags from him, like right away. He was like, I miss you. I just want to be with you right away. And I'm like, well, that's a little too much for me, actually. But then it was also really nice to hear in a way, because it doesn't happen all the time either. And then I went away for the weekend to go back home to Wisconsin. And when I came back, like we had been talking all weekend. He told me he missed me, which I also thought was a huge red flag right away. And then when I came back that night and we were supposed to hang out, I didn't hear from him at all, like completely ghosted. And then he then mentioned that he had dating issues and he couldn't date anybody seriously. And I don't, like, then we stopped talking too. Like, eventually, like, we had a few other hangouts and then that was it. But I don't know, like, it's just really frustrating, I guess, in anything, like, where when you give into those actions, when somebody is telling you those things and then you say them back, then all of a sudden that's not acceptable either. Like, you're still supposed to play that game, that you're still unavailable, and that they still, even like, they're just trying, I don't know.
I don't either. And it's mostly my women friends who are
Mhm.
telling me this. It's not men I'm dating. Well, I'm not dating that much, but it's like, it's just other people telling me why I'm not, you know, meeting someone. And it's like, then I hate that why you're not, because I kind of feel like it's like anything that you're like, when you're looking for a job or when you're looking for any kind of thing, it's just the right kind of connection. When it happens, that you can be prepared and you can be ready. But I just find it the strangest thing that it's just been in the last year where everybody's been talking about this energy, what energy you give out and all these kind of, you know, things along with it. And I just was wondering if you're here, if you three are hearing the same thing at all from people in this
And
past
it's
year.
your feminist friends that are like, this is why you're not dating.
Yeah.
And you're like, really? Fuck you.
Well, it is. Well, I also get it from my married friends who basically just don't talk about it anymore, because it's almost like if I say, oh, you know, if you even tell them that you just kind of wish you had somebody, then they'll show you a picture of their husband sleeping, like ignore it. And I'm like, what is this? They just ignored my statement, like, oh, life is so hard for me. And I was like, I'm just telling you a feeling, like, and overall, I feel pretty great and confident about life in general, but it's just the dating stuff is just so, as Leanne was saying, it really is like, hear from somebody for a little bit and you don't hear from somebody. And it's this back and, forth. It's just communicate. There's like a communication, like a lot of miscommunication is happening. And I think that's in the world and with the internet too. But it's like we're all disconnected in a way, I think. And that's what I'm just trying to find out more.
I mean, as if our political situation doesn't typify everything that's
our lives.
So insane. So one of the things that struck a chord with what you were just saying for me is that just because I get lonely and I want a partner and I want someone does not make me incomplete to where you have to pity me if you're in a relationship.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to snap my fingers, but yeah.
That condescending, like, don't get me wrong. There are times when I wallow in it. I'm just like, I'm so lonely. Why does nobody ever love me? What's wrong with me? But I know that I'm fucking awesome. And Vicky, I know that I have a head heart thing.
Yeah, but you're so close to connecting those.
Yeah, but it's like, I know that. Like, I know that I'm awesome. And I know that men are intimidated by me because I'm smart and funny, and I'm super, super nice and I'm super, super maternal. So this is why I date young men. So the best time on dating apps for me, I spent 6 months in Milwaukee. I lived in Milwaukee for 6 months. And sex-wise and meeting guys, the apps were amazing for that. And I felt really free then, and now I'm like repressed again sexually. But I had that 6 months where I felt really comfortable and free, and I met these amazing men, and I keep meeting, I met this guy, we went and had coffee, and now we're really great friends, and I'm going to be the officiant for he and his fiance's wedding next year.
Oh.
So it is not without its perks at some point. Like, I've made friends because of it. And I've had some really great dates, and I've had some decent sex with guys because of it. I've actually had some really great sex with guys because of it. But how do we, and this question's for you, Vicky, when you're when you're looking to date, when you're dating people and you're enjoying sex, which I do so rarely, how do you begin to attract men for when you know you want a relationship? How do you redirect that without getting all panicky and jumping ahead too far?
Redirect which part of it? The part that you want to have sex, or that you want to have something
a relationship
meaningful? What?
Something more meaningful.
Uh-huh.
How do you so I'm dating, I'm having sex, I'm enjoying it, but I realize that this is not really all I want. I want more than this. I want somebody that will make me chicken soup when I'm sick. Well, that will, watch. I just want somebody to watch Netflix with me and not have to feel like I have to chill with them.
It's such a good question. And as I've said, kind of repeatedly when I've had the honor to do this little gig with you, I sound archaic, but I was around for the 60s and free love, and I don't remember most of it, but every once in a while I'll admit that I remember somebody I fell into bed with, and I'll go, ooh, I forgot all about him. So I'm not true, is my point. All I can tell you in my old age is not just because we live in this effed up world where men judge that but because what I know is that if I take off all my clothes and do the most intimate act there is early on, then I feel like I've given up a little piece of my soul. It's not what sex was designed to be. I can't believe that's coming out of my mouth, but I think that sex was designed to be the outgrowth of deep feelings and some mutual regard, that it takes time to demonstrate that. So I guess basically what I'm saying is, I don't know if you have a 3-date rule or something like that. I just don't think it hurts anything. And you can let somebody know you're sexy and that you like sex. You can even just say that, you can say, hey, the truth is, you know what? I really like sex, but I kind of like you. So, you're the lucky winner of somebody I'm going to wait with, sorry, but this is your reward for me liking you. You're going to have to wait 2 more dates or whatever it is. Like I'm always in favor of putting things in a humorous way and keeping it light, but you're sending a message. I hate that men judge us as hoes, but
Right.
But I also have this whole other thing, and I'm repeating, but this whole other thing that I see is entirely separate, which is if I don't know that this guy has a regard for me, the sex might be good, although I don't get high anymore. That used to have to be there for me to really have a good time with somebody I hardly know. I had to be able to be pretty shit-faced or high. But I suppose, yeah, the sex can be good. But usually I feel like saying put $50 on the counter if I do that, or 100, I guess.
I mean, or your card, whatever. So for me, like, I feel like I'm kind of prudish. I'm not gonna lie. And I don't really like sex. I had a really good time, like, for that 6 months, because it was really the first time I'd had sex sober. Yeah. So it was kind of like this exploration where I got to live my 20s. But there is that component where sometimes you just want to have sex. Like, and maybe that's just me being socialized through the LGBT community. Not to say that everyone's like that. It just, like, what I went through was over sexualized, and it was all about,
yeah.
Anyway. So I don't know. Sometimes I just want to have sex, and that's totally fine. Like, I'm good with that. But if I like you, I definitely want to wait. And I had a 3-date rule, but I'm thinking I kind of am just going to be like, okay, I will let you know when we're there.
Yeah.
Versus a 3-date.
Yeah, or that. Yeah. But I would, I would, like I said, I would make mention somehow in an easygoing way, but I do like sex, and
I might like sex with you.
What?
I mean, it may be like, I might like sex with you.
Yeah, exactly. Something lighthearted that
at some point,
like you're not withholding just to be a bitch, Yeah.
Ladies, any comments on
sex?
Yeah.
I was raised Catholic, and like peace and social justice Catholic, but that's another story. But but it really was one of those things. Like, my mom got married at 21 with her, so it was like very much like throughout high school and all that. I really truly believed that I had to wait until I got married. And so even in my early 20s, it was kind of still like, I looked at sex as long, the long-term goal after getting to know somebody and all that. And then I've had like a lot of different interruptions throughout my life. So when it comes to dating and stuff like that, I enjoyed my late 20s, just having fun and doing things like that. But I also feel the same way as Dina, is like, yeah, I might want to have sex with you. I might not. Let's see how it goes. The last person I dated longer than a few like weeks ago, I dated somebody for about a month. He wanted to have sex sooner than I did. And I basically was like, I'm not ready yet. And he's like, well, you just rejected me, and like tried to make me feel guilty about it. And then afterwards I was like, went home. Well, a couple other things happened too. And I was like, no, I shouldn't have to make you shouldn't make me feel guilty just because I'm not ready. And I was like, this is not the guy for me. And then I had to wait and break up with him after a longer, for a little bit. And I was like, I'm okay with that. And it goes back to what Dina was saying earlier, is that I know I'm a catch too, and then I'm pretty awesome. And I'm not going to have somebody question my judgment. I've already questioned my judgment on other things in my life. I'm not going to question about when I'm ready for something and when I'm not, because I also feel like if I'm not ready for it and I give it away too soon or whatever, and I don't want to say give it away because that does sound very old school, but if I'm not ready for it and I do something, then I will be second guessing myself. And I don't want to do that. Like, when I'm ready, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I guess like my more recent dating experiences, it's either been somebody who I just don't want to have sex with at all, and then the ones who I am attracted to, like if the date's going well and things like that, I do tend to hook up probably too quickly. Not all the time, but like there's sometimes where like it's just like kind of where things lead, and it's like, and honestly in that moment I do want to have sex with them too, but like I also still always want to have that game of like, you're not going to respect me if I give this up to you right now, like, but I do want to sleep in your bed, but not with doing this. And it's like, you can say no to a degree and like all this, but like, it's something that I've been struggling with, like, since I've lost my virginity, of just not knowing how to properly say no. Mm-hmm. And that just like kind of like just sticks with everything.
And that's annoying because that's something that women are told all the time. Like, if you give it up too soon, then, and you'll never keep him.
Yeah.
And that's bullshit. Like, I know so many people who had sex on the first date that are married now and they're happy and content. So that's so frustrating. And even though I was socialized male most of my life, like I was really a woman, so I always had the same things. Like I always thought about that. Like, and that's fucked up societally. Like I should be able to have sex with somebody if I want to have sex with them, and then not feel like just because I had sex with them, they think I'm a hoe and they're leaving me, or I'm gonna be their hookup all the time or whatever. And that's ridiculous.
They do, because we think they're Neanderthals and hey, what could I do? She was there.
And I think that's the biggest thing about it, is like, it really was like for myself, like I really ingested all of the things I was being told as a young Catholic girl. Yeah. I just really did. And then it was when I finally came to the realization of, no, that's not correct. No, it's kind of like, and it's the fact of like there's a lot of things now that I look back at that were very good about being raised that way. There are a lot of things at times I was like, you know what, Mom, you got married at 21, and you met him and you were writing notes. You weren't even close to each other, like the way they like met. And I was like, that's not the same as what we've gone through in our lives, or like how we've been raised and different things. And yeah, I don't know. As I said, like, and I also feel the same of like sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I should have gone farther at times than when I've had opportunities to. And then afterwards, I'm like, nah, I'm okay afterwards. Like it's just a question of like when and when not. I agree with you of like Leanne when you were saying how to say no, or well, I guess mine is not how to say no. Mine is more to say how to say yes times. Like, yeah, I should just have fun. And I'm like, oh no, I can't. I don't know. I don't know what I'm. And guys, it still makes me uncomfortable to talk about sex. Sorry.
Oh my God. It's my life's mission as a sexuality counselor to get people to talk in the bedroom. This is why most people are leading lives of quiet desperation in the bedroom. So I'm thrilled to hear you guys gabbing about it.
Like I can talk about it like in this situation, and I can tell all the sex jokes on stage, but when we start getting a little more graphic or when it's like interpersonal, then I get really uncomfortable because I didn't grow up Catholic, but I grew up like fundamentalist Christian.
Yeah.
I was a worship leader and a youth minister, and I was going to start a church and be a pastor. Like it. So I realized, I think I've realized more so in the last few weeks how fucked up I am when it comes to sex.
We're all recovering from something.
Yeah, I had that once actually with a guy who I was dating, where we had been dating for a few months, and he had asked if I was raised Christian because of like how I didn't just want to like sit around naked with him and like all of this. And he's like, even though like to me, like I thought that we were doing it all the time, and like some like it was more than like what I was even used to, and like all this. But like with him, he thought I was still too closed off.
You, whenever he starts a sentence with the word "you," it implies there's something wrong with you.
Right. Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff with that guy that were like a lot of that, but yeah. But that was definitely, it did come up though, like where it made me think about it a little bit more of like where like because I always thought that I was okay with it, but in some ways maybe not as much as what I actually thought, because like I would afterwards like I want to put on my clothes right away and like everything like that, you know, and just, yeah, there's a little, it's not the shame of actually doing it or anything like that necessarily, but it's, yeah.
I mean, I always put my panties on right after. But I also feel very uncomfortable about my enclosed my parts.
You know, I just wish that a guy would say, "God, you're so beautiful. You know, just hang on for a minute, you know, and let me just enjoy how pretty you are," instead of, "Hey, you know, were you raised Christian?" I mean, I don't know, just ticks me off. But you know, I guess in my work, I'm trying to work on people one person at a time. I mean, I have a nerve having an agenda for others. I really don't push it if they're not interested. But everybody's interested in enhancing their sex life, so I'm always happy when it comes up.
I think
All I'm saying to people is just speak your truth.
Yeah.
But nicely.
I think one of the reasons I started doing the show was because like I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I just went on tour with these amazing women who are so connected to their sexuality and so comfortable with who they are and their bodies. And it was interesting to realize how many hangups I have about my body after being around them.
After being around them, or like did it help you?
It did not help me. It just made me realize how much, like how many hangups I have about it.
Yeah.
I think. And it's inspiring. I feel totally inspired by them. So we'll see. It may have helped me.
We're all products of this culture, though. We're all socialized to judge ourselves on our exterior shell. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. This is an interruptive program. I think that like, so I feel comfortable generally like after, like when I'm hanging out with a guy, I don't feel as crazy about my stomach as I do when I'm wearing clothes. Like I feel a lot more comfortable without my top, but you know, like panties are a must for me. And so that's kind of interesting knowing like I'm a lot more comfortable with somebody.
I have to say, like, I because of my so being a breast cancer survivor and having had a bilateral mastectomy, and the boobs I have are created by a tram. I'm giving you way too much medical knowledge, but they're natural. They're tram flap. They're not they're not implants. The first time I was intimate with somebody afterwards, I didn't want to take my shirt off. So it was more the fact of I'm okay with down there now, and it like totally flipped. Like before, because I was like always like, oh no, like let me, you know, kind of like we did this, but now I'm like, no, I'll just cover my, you know, top. And it took until and I do have like limited like feeling up here, so it's not really the fact of him touching it was the thing, but it was the fact of him like, no, they look good, they're okay. Like, and I've been told that by my doctors, but to have somebody say, oh, I wouldn't have even noticed really, except that you told me. And now I'm looking more closely, and I was like, and that actually was a shift in how I started feeling better about my body in general, too. Is just having because as I said, because I think we get so judgmental about certain things that we notice is wrong with ourselves. Like I sometimes do that with weight, or like a pimple or a wrinkle or whatever kind of thing. But just have somebody like, no, I didn't notice it. You're kind of overreacting. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I am.
Believe
So I believe, yeah. So it was one of those things like, you're right. I should have realized this before when the doctors all said that it was really good surgery, but I didn't. I needed somebody intimate to tell me.
Yeah, once I went to my old roommate was a burlesque performer, and I went to her show, and you're at the show where there's bodies of all different shapes and sizes, and where everyone's just embracing the dance and the routines, and it was really fun to watch and all of this. But like I got really emotional about how I could never feel that confident doing it, and then just like thinking about there's somebody who is twice my size, not that it matters, but like they're comfortable doing it, or somebody who has gone through something else and like this and that, like where yes, there are like like appearance to us, like the perfect body or whatever, but like where like the whole idea of it is just that everybody is shaped differently and it's okay. And so but it was also not only, but like I had an issue, like it wasn't even about like the nudity or anything like that. Like that was all fun and all that, but like it was more like that I really like almost like had a meltdown about like how I wouldn't feel comfortable. And like then like I guess like that's part of like I guess like more of like the shame factor with sex of like going back into that of just like feeling comfortable naked and all that.
Mm-hmm. I think yeah.
That's why I say it isn't whether we're Catholic or fundamentalist Christian or, I guess in my case, it would be an Orthodox Jew. It's how we're socialized, the whole Mars Venus thing. I've said it on here before, guys don't have this issue. They look in the mirror and even if they have a pot belly, they go, yep, we look pretty good. Yep. They don't have it. And as we know, they're visual. I know it's trite, but it's true. Okay. So I would say if a guy says, no, you're pretty, I like the way you look, number one, try to believe it, because I think we're always dressing for women. But I also think that, I don't know. I just think that it's okay to say to a guy, well, I'm stuttering because I'm trying not to talk about myself because I have children that might watch this. I think that I might be getting intimate with somebody I'm dating. I take care of and I do this not just about size or looks or anything. If I think I'm about to say something or have an experience where I want people to take pity on me, I give them a heads up. So I might, just to encourage them to be gentle. So I might say to somebody, yeah, you know what? I just have to go on record as saying, man, I look better with my clothes on. Just saying, And again, I'm saying it in a lighthearted way, but I'm hoping that what they'll get from that is, know that I'm nervous here. Mm-hmm. That's a way I take care of myself, is by giving people a little gentle warning.
I think I'll just tell everybody I'm a little insecure about my fupa today.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. I love the show.
No, I think, and I also feel like I'm glad that you brought these things up, Dina, because I do feel like a lot of times when people would talk about these issues, I would just sit quietly and hold my drink and just listen a lot. And so at times I was like, oh, I can't share, or I can't what I'm thinking, because I was just wondering, like, how much do I share of like how little experience have I had, or how much, or having too much experience, or all of that. And that goes back with what you were saying too about how we're socialized, and it's depending on who I was hanging out with that I'd be like worried about that, kind of. Mm-hmm. And that's not even something to worry about. It's literally an extra thing I put on myself that nobody really wanted to know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm.
I have been to 12-step meeting. I'm an addictions counselor, and I've been to 12-step meetings where that are women. And you know, in those meetings, people talk about everything. I mean, it's incredibly safe to get intimate and vulnerable, and people talk about everything but sex, you know, which is true across the board. And every once in a while, I'll get, you know, maybe a little belligerent or something, and I'll say, you know, I just need to talk about an insecurity I have about sex or whatever. And you'll see women physically move in, not just because they're titillated, but because somebody's talking about it. So anyway, I think, Dina, a lovely thing about this show, I hope maybe there's a way to continue it, at least from time to time, is that here we're talking about it. There's a need. Yeah.
Last year, I attended something about sex with like Dr. Lauren Stryker, who's a person in Chicago. She was talking about sex after cancer, and it was like for women and men. But one of the best things, as you were saying, is that we're just talking about it. And that's what she was saying, is just let people know that these things happen, that like how you might feel after it. If something doesn't feel right, it might not be right, and get it checked out. And so she gave away copies of her book. And it literally was one of those things where just have a book that was like a nonfiction book. She would about, you're right. And it was like, and the last time you read something about this might have been health class in 7th grade and 10th grade, because we don't talk about it.
Right.
So I thought that was really.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot of self-help books out there that will hurt you. You know, some of them are silly, but generally speaking, they won't hurt you. I got another one. The woman that taught me at Loyola Medical School was a pistol, and she writes in a pretty funny manner. Her name is Dina Renshaw. Anyway, she wrote a book called, now I think it's 6 Weeks to a Better Sex Life, something like that. Anyway, and the whole thing is about talking. Mm-hmm. Getting comfortable with sensual touch that doesn't lead to the home run. But while you're being touched, you have to talk about how it feels, and what feels good, what do you want more of, what maybe was not as pleasurable a sensation. You have to get used to talking.
But guys just want the home run.
You know, they do, but I think, I'll say this again, it might sound corny, but if I say to a guy, look, I know you want to pleasure your woman. I know you do. They all say it. They all say, oh, tell me anything, I'll do it, you know, but they're, sadly, you know, we're socialized not to like it, generally speaking, you know, by these, you know, cultural norms and this religiosity and stuff. They're socialized to be born Romeos, but they're not, I mean, in other words, knowing how to please a woman, but they don't have a clue, and they can't ask each other. They can't go up to a guy in a locker room and say, hey, you know, this oral sex thing, can you help me out? I don't really get how that's done, you know? So what do? They go to their media, which is all marketed to men because that's who pays for it. And all the women in those things are saying, give it to me, big boy, which is not, you know, what we're after. So we're all ships passing. And if I say to a guy, if you could really have a heart to heart, and the woman would tell you most sincerely, even if it hurt your feelings a little bit, to find out that maybe you'd been doing something that wasn't as pleasurable as she was pretending, wouldn't you rather know? And they always go, oh yeah, absolutely. You know, they're shooting in the dark, no pun intended. They don't have a clue, but they want to. They want to. But they all think that everybody else knows, and they don't.
Yeah.
True.
So do Leanne and Kenna, do you guys date people closer to your ages, or what is your, I know that you said that you tend to kind of dismiss them, but
I don't date as often as I would like to, obviously, as I've mentioned before. And I think I've been trying to stay close to my age, and like, and it changed. And when I say close to my age, I've been like maybe 6 years younger and like only 2 years older because I don't want to be dating an old man because I'm getting older. Not really. I'm just kidding a little bit, but I've changed. I've decided, and that's what I've like changed on my dating profiles, as I'll have a like an age limit. But when it comes to going, when I'm out, not on an app or anything like that, I'm working on being more open and being like, it doesn't matter. Am I attracted to this person? Let me see what happens. And I'm also just trying to be more open about it. I think too, like the fact, like, do men know that I want to date them, or am I just being, because I've been told, am I just being friendly or flirty? Can they tell the difference? And so I'm trying to be a little bit more flirty.
Yeah, I on my dating apps, like I have, I think like down to like 5 years younger, and then up to actually like 7 or 8 years older, because I do feel that I'm starting to hit their age range if they're a little bit older, like because I feel like guys who I'm dating, if I put my age, they're still looking at 23-year-olds often. That it's way beyond, like they have a way wider range with that. I recently had a date where the guy's age on the app, this is the first time this has happened to me. It said that he was 35 and it was on Hinge, and I saw that we both went to the same hometown. And then one thing that's really weird on Hinge is that when you match with somebody, it gives you first and last name. And so when I saw that we had the same hometown, then it turned out that his sister was in my grade that I had graduated with. So like we had started conversation around that, and I didn't remember him at all, but I knew that she had had an older brother. Well, then we go out on a date, and like within like the first few minutes, like because he wasn't forthright with what year he had graduated. Like he just kind of like passed the question and then like had talked about other things. And then when we went out on the date, it turned out that he was 42, not 35. And at this point, I would be more prone to date somebody who's 42 than I would who would be 6 years younger. And of just where I'm at, so like I felt like it was an unnecessary lie. And he said that it was because he wanted to see if he could match with more people on these apps. And I'm like, well, how old are you trying to match with? Like that's the other question of like then putting in 35, of just like differences of that. But I guess of just like being open to, I feel that when the times that I get approached in public, it is by somebody who's younger. I was at Riot Fest, and I tried really hard to not lead with asking how old he was. So like had like a few days of conversation, and then I ended up asking, and it turned out that he was 10 years younger than me. And then I told him how old I was, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just don't think it's gonna work, because I also have a nephew who's 10 years younger than me and can't imagine dating my nephew. And so that's definitely part of it. And yeah.
See,
like I'd like to be able to be open-minded to it, but I tend to shut it off if it's younger.
so I'm open to dating. I'm open to dating guys that are older than I am, but it really seems like the guys that are older than I am look like they have been through it. Like and I'm not just a looks person, but like I feel like they look so much older than I am.
I agree. No, and I have to, because I think Dina, I think we're close to the same age.
I'm 47.
What? I'm 44.
I'll be 48.
Okay. I'll be 45 in May, but
May, when's your birthday?
May 1st.
The first?
Yes.
I'm the second.
Yay!
Okay. So
and I feel that's why I kind of go for younger on the dating apps too, is like when I go older, like as I said, like I used to be like in my 30s, I'd be like a 7 year under, 7 year older. And then as I've gotten through this, I've been like, I'm still okay with the younger, but as I go older, these men in their 50s are kind of like and I mean, don't get me wrong, I get tired too, but they don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
They're literally, and this is something also when it comes to men and when generally it's like so many of my women friends go out and do things. Like we do comedy, we do storytelling, but besides that, we might travel, or we might go to concerts, or we might go out to dinner and all these things. And I'm just seeing these men who are like my age and older not doing anything right now. They're not even having like an interest. Or I was in a running club and there were men older, but they literally, all they did was, and they're faster than me, so they would run and then go home. Well, those of us who are a little bit slower running, we'd just go run and then like, do you want to go get breakfast and do other things, like just trying to like more social activities. And so that's kind of why I have a hard time with also dating older, is that I just feel like I don't want to have to convince you that being outside is fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't have to convince you that, like, it's like, I like movies, I like things like that too, but it's like, you don't seem to be doing anything, you know? So I don't know.
I used to, like, when I was younger, I dated older men. Like, I pretty much exclusively dated older, and it wasn't a thing. And then all of a sudden, I found myself, like, I was 46, and I went out with a 24-year-old. Like, and I'm almost 48, and I'm going to go out with this 20-something-year-old. Like, and part of it is, and I was told this from somebody, they were like, why don't you try dating younger guys? Because now this generation, these generations that are over 21, sorry, I just giggled at that, are a lot more open sexually, as far as like open to different genders, trans, you know, and things. And so, I mean, and I guess I've kind of found that to be true, but I've also, like, I'm tired all the time, and I don't want to do a whole lot either, because I do so much, like trying to run a business, trying to, you know, that when I get home, I want to get home and hang out by myself, you know, or whatever. But I don't remember where my point was going with that, but yeah.
Yeah, and as I said, I understand being tired, but I also feel like if I'm asking you questions and you can't even connect a little bit, it's just kind of, I don't know. And I also am seeing too, like, men who are older than me still want to date a lot younger than me. And so the men, like when I'm on apps who have me, like they have the older range too, that I haven't seen as big of a problem with younger men on it as I have like men my age who don't even want to date 35-year-olds. They want to date 30 and younger, you know, because they might have been like now decided they want to be dads. And you're like, well, you could have, you know, okay.
We can try, but I don't have a uterus.
Or it's also like, I don't know anymore. I'm just kind of like, I don't know how to decide what men want.
Right.
But I know what I want.
This past year too, I've also run into a lot of recent divorcees who I feel like I've been single for a really long time, and then I'll go on these dates and find out that I'm their first person who they've gone on a date with since they've gotten divorced. And then I find out that they got divorced 3 months ago, and I've been single for a decade, you know, like of like some small relationships here or there. And I'm like, well, you haven't really processed the fact that you just went through a huge change in your life. You're like, and I think people should go out on dates and this and that, but what I've noticed with some of them is that they want to put me back in that role of they kind of just like cut the head off and put somebody else in the place of that role, and then I'm not there. And so like I've had a few of that, of like then trying to explain to them of that we're not at the same place, and like try to be as nice as possible with it. And like those are the people who you continuously hear from. Like it's not the person who I felt like I had a great connection with. It's somebody who's then trying to like put me in that part, and then I feel like the person who's mean, because then I'll stop communicating with them.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard though that's what men do, is that they like to replace in relationships to begin with. Like especially like if it's like not so much with divorce, but like widowers will, like, you know, women will grieve longer, but men need to replace at times. And I think it comes as, I mean, it may be the same with divorce, but I just also am finding men my age don't like that I'm as opinionated as I am too. Mm-hmm. And the younger men don't care as much.
Right.
Which is why I'm dating younger too.
That's what you were saying, Dina. Just FYI, the national average is, whether it's via divorce or, you know, somebody becoming widowed, guys are not only in a serious relationship within a year, they're remarried within a year. 1 year.
Maybe I need to look for one of those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I do think that we women do tend to do the processing, like you said, kind of we process. So which I think is a good thing, because you want to bring a mentally healthy person. The point of life, one of the points of life, the world according to Vicki Lockman, is take the lesson. What was the lesson? What was my 50% of that relationship ending? Unless it's a tragic death, but if it's a divorce, what was my 50% and let me fix it before I go off into a new relationship. But I think it's harder for guys.
I got such a kick out of my comment and nobody else did, and I'm just still laughing about it.
Which one?
You did?
When I was like, maybe I should look for one of those.
Oh, I know. I know.
Sometimes I laugh at my jokes.
I told you before, Dina, this is true for all of us. If you want to get married tomorrow, you can. You can go online and find somebody who wants to be married. And so the question isn't,
it looks decent.
Exactly. Will you settle? The question isn't, will you end up alone? The question is, will you settle?
I might.
And I do think that's a big thing too, because I think we've all had known people who have settled, but they just decided I wanted to be married now, and they do it.
How did they do
As
that?
I said, half the time it works out, half the time it doesn't.
I mean, never mind. I'm not being serious right now. This is not adding to the conversation in a positive way.
Yeah. Haven't done it though, we've noticed, right?
Fair.
Okay.
I can't find anybody I want to settle with.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, see that now, that's sort of like contradictory.
Except for Deli Boy.
Well, we're all going to be on the edge of our seats waiting. Yeah.
I don't know if he's waiting 3 days.
He sounds like a sweetheart. Oh,
if
God.
that's a rule, or if he's just like, oh, she's trans, I'm done. We'll see.
I'm sorry, you've got to worry about that.
Yeah. It is fine.
We
I have
all
a comedy empire to build.
Well, we all have something. That's a tough something, but so is having, a double mastectomy something. We all have something to worry about.
I think also, like, when you were saying that we all have something, but I think that's the biggest thing to like work on myself, is like get over what my something is, because everybody has something.
Yes.
And that was the thing, is that I keep having to tell myself that regarding other like things at times. It's like, everybody has something. So that's, we're all trying to get over our somethings.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating men.
I went to see, I don't know how you guys feel about Suzanne Westenhofer. Suzanne. Oh God. She's been around a long time, was an original lesbian comic. Do you know her?
An original lesbian. Yeah, I do.
I mean, I saw her for the first time 25 years ago, and she was out. Mm-hmm. But she was talking. I mean, but I don't know. I was just telling her what a couple of you said, which is, I wish I could go to the island of Lesbos too. I think it would really. I don't know. I have this fantasy that it would be a lot easier because I'm talking to another female, but unfortunately for me, I'm purely hetero, apparently.
My thing is, I know a lot of fucking amazing women.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are very, pansexual, and they date they'll date anyone, and not anyone, but you know what I mean? Like
the whole spectrum.
They're open to all genders, and they're just so incredible and wonderful, and then some ladies who just like ladies, and like my friend Claudia, if I liked women, I think we would be the perfect couple. Like, it's just, I wish I did. Like I wish.
Yeah.
But and I have more. I would have so many options of amazing women,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not to be like, oh, because all the ladies love me, but all the ladies love me.
I do.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's like, I mean, if I could, I would in a heartbeat. If I could say turn it on and be like, I would in a heartbeat, because I know some amazing women. I know a couple amazing men. And they're married to my amazing friends. You know, like it's,
I feel like one of the things too, like when you said that, like with the lesbians and this, I know so many amazing heterosexual women who are single too. And
Yeah.
it's like, and that's the thing that I'm just always in shock of, like, and I like look at my like list. I'm like, I gotta know some man I can set them up with. And then myself, so I'm like, there's gotta be some man I can set myself up with. And I'm always like stuck, you know, trying to figure that out. And then I talked so I talk to my women friends who are lesbians, and I see how their culture works with when it comes to dating and all those things, and I'm like, huh, that just looks like it's such an easy way of communicating.
mm-hmm.
And I'm like obviously looking at it on the outside, you know. And as I said, it was only recently when I was talking to Kelly that I was asking her about it, and she's like, yeah, it is a lot easier what I've known. And I was
Now,
like, oh,
I've watched my sister and one of my other best friends go through so many relationships with women that were volatile. So, like,
yeah.
I've seen it when it's not right, when it just is not good. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I know a bunch of ladies who love ladies who are so balanced and so like down to earth and have really focused on their mental health. Whereas, like, I think during the time that my sister was going through everything, I feel like I'm outing my sister's like she had some issues that she was dealing with, you know. So
And obviously, I know that I'm looking at it like the grass is
yeah,
greener on the other side, like not, you know, that kind of thing. But it
right.
was really, which you sometimes do just because you're like,
Yeah.
there's got to be something I'm missing of like not missing, like communication wise is what I keep thinking is this disconnect.
But you're not gonna get a twat shot in the first 30 minutes of or 30 seconds of meeting a woman. Not, I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
as a general rule, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And men love their dicks and they love showing them off and like
Yeah.
anyway, like I mean, I know that there are good men out there.
I do too. And I also like,
Because I've seen them on television.
and I know like they're good men. Like my brother is a really nice guy. He and his girlfriend just had a baby. They met on Tinder. You know, things work out. You know, like in New York and Brooklyn. So I know they're good. Things happen. You know, different things. And like so it's just one of those things. Or and I know like my sister and her husband have a really strong relationship. So I see that, and like I have friends who have good relationships. It's just right now I'm just like, where are those, you know, the men? And
It's
I'm not going
always
to break into an 80s song about where have all the good men gone, but it's always going through my head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's always good to keep on the tip of your mind those relationships that reassure you that they're out there. I just think the field narrows. You know, the more self-introspective we get, the more we act with intention and all that stuff, the more the field narrows. That's a fact. But that doesn't mean that they're not there, you know?
Yeah.
Just keep the faith.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's my wish for you.
I just find it so interesting. Like, it seems like Milwaukee is the only place that men are really attracted to me. And I don't really want to live there.
I always call it like when I go on like on vacation, I'm like, Vacation Canada does so great with certain men, you know, like in different cities. But I also have to say Milwaukee and Minneapolis are always those cities where I'm always like, why am I having such a good time in these cities? as opposed to others?
Des Moines, Milwaukee and Des Moines.
Des Moines. I haven't done Des Moines yet, so I can't say that.
I did Des Moines. I really didn't.
Yeah.
But Milwaukee, it just feels good. You have your beer in hand. You're walking by. You can have some cheese curds.
But and Madison, everybody's everybody's married or in a relationship. Everyone. I really don't think there's a single man out there. And if he is broken. He is a land of broken toys. Like, you know, like I was surprised when I was living in Chicago that I met no one.
Oh, I think Chicago's also. I sometimes joke that I wonder if Chicago, one of the reasons we don't have a really strong dating scene is because we didn't have a really good happy hour scene. Because I've also, and I don't know if this is true, because we have a good brunch scene, but like Milwaukee has a good happy hour. Minneapolis does, because you can go out after work and it's still cheap drinks, it's still cheap like food. And so sometimes I'm like, is this part of the problem in Chicago that we're only now having happy hours in the last couple of years? Like maybe the dating scene will get better. But like even in the early thousands, Oprah did a whole special on how like the different cities that were easy to date in and hard to date in. And Chicago is listed as one of the hardest cities to date.
It's so weird. Like,
yeah.
Like there are more men that I'm attracted to in Chicago. But and like Los Angeles was the worst because I was like 40 pounds lighter than this, and like I just felt like I was invisible to men. You know, it was just, and that was fine because they were too pretty anyway. I don't want to deal with that. I want somebody with a beard that has dirt under their fingernails. You know, maybe once in a while. You know, like anyway. So like I got Los Angeles. That made sense. I was like, yeah, fair, whatever. But it just seems that Milwaukee and Des Moines are the only places I can meet men. And like I said, I don't want to live there. I hated living in Milwaukee for a lot of reasons, but I think I could live there again as long as I had like money flowing in, but I don't know if I want to live there. Definitely not Des Moines.
I'm like, when you mentioned Des Moines, I keep thinking Duluth too. And I'm like, I wonder what the dating scene's like in Duluth.
They have a good happy hour.
Further north.
Anyway. So this has been very fun. Kenna, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have any final words that you would like to, any words of wisdom or anything that you would like to wrap up with?
I don't have words of wisdom, but I want to say thank you to all three of you for making me feel better about dating, and that we're all kind of still just going out there and trying to make it work. So thank you to you three.
It's like dating is like the open mic scene. Just got to keep going.
Gotta keep doing it. Sometimes you could take a break, but then you realize you have to go back. And so you're like, it's like winter.
And you dread it.
Yeah. So like open mics, I'll be going back out soon.
Leanne, thank you so much. Anything?
Thanks for having me. No, it's great talking to you. It's been really insightful too, and it's one of those things too of like when you hear other people going through struggles too with it, like that it doesn't seem it in some ways, like because there is like you want to see a light in it in some way, like that. Yeah, there's people who have met on these things, or like even out in public, like where there's still hope for it. But it's nice that we're in this together, I guess. Right.
Yes, it's like winter in the Midwest. We're in this together. We're gonna get through it at some point, probably. Alive or dead. A lot hairier by the end of it, but whatever. And Vicky, always a delight.
Oh, thank you. Well, I probably I know I blathered on, so I don't really have any closing thoughts except to say that, as always, I just love meeting you guys. Really, you guys are my idols. I just love your energy and the enthusiasm and the fact that you can get up and be funny. Right, or whatever it is you guys all do. Thank you.
So thank you, ladies. So it has been kind of hard to maintain a schedule with daters and with coaches. So, and part of it's because my schedule has been so busy. So I'm going to take a little break on Aggressively Single. If you want to see more, let me know. I would love to do more. I just have to figure out how we can make it work to where it's not as stressful for me. We may plan on doing one a month or whatever, but I will keep you guys in the loop. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, Dina@DinaNinaMartinez.com. And yeah, so thank you all for watching, and we will be back who knows when, but I'll let you know. Do you like how I'm just like haphazardly being like, whatever? But thank you guys for joining Aggressively Single. Thank you again, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will chat later. And in the meantime, stay aggressive, whether it's single or not.
Thanks, sweetie.
Thank you, Dina. I want to hear more about Deli Boy later.
Yeah, keep us